On Sunday, November 13th, 2022, Jay Leno was hospitalized as one of his cars caught on fire in his garage in Los Angeles. He sadly suffered facial burns and is now being treated in the hospital. He insists he's doing much better, but needs a week or two before getting back to normal. Join Facts First as Jay Leno cancels his appearances as he is treated for car fire injuries. Jay Leno was born James Douglas Muir Leno on April 28, 1950, in New Rochelle, New York. His Scottish-born mother was a homemaker, and his Italian-American father was an insurance salesman. As a result, you might not have expected young Jay to become one of the most beloved entertainers in the country. After graduating high school, he studied at Emerson College, where he got a degree in speech therapy. But he had no interest in becoming a speech therapist and was instead interested in pursuing stand-up comedy, which was growing in popularity in New York. Eventually, he worked his way up and landed a stand-up gig on The Tonight Show, which he eventually would go on to host. He appeared on the show March 2, 1977, and his routine was loved by the audience. He was invited back and also began his career as a writer for popular TV shows. One of the most notable highlights of his early career was that he was a writer for the popular sitcom Good Times. He also appeared in an episode of the show called JJ in Trouble. He played a patient in a clinic who discussed VD while JJ was nervously waiting for his test results. He continued to write and act throughout the 70s and 80s and appeared in shows and films such as Holmes and Yo-Yo, Fun with Dick and Jane, American Hot Wax, and Laverne and Shirley. This was coupled with his stand-up career and even regular appearances on Match Game and Hollywood Squares. As his profile was growing, it was clear he was destined for greater things. He eventually became a writer on The Tonight Show and became a close friend of Johnny Carson's. One of his fellow writers from Good Times, David Letterman, was also a writer for the show, and there was a bit of a rivalry between the two to see who would replace Johnny when he eventually stepped away. Jay Leno eventually began substituting for Johnny when he wasn't available. He was an instant hit, and it was clear that one day the show would become his. Jay Leno's career. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno premiered in 1992 and was a huge hit, but had its fair share of controversy. It was actually thought that Letterman would be the successor of the show, and this controversy hung over the show for the first few episodes. But Jay was eager to prove himself. He wanted to dominate the late-night talk show scene. While there were many great talk shows of the 90s, and that particular decade had a resurgence of them, Jay still managed to stand out from his competitors. He had to compete with David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, Craig Kilborn, Craig Ferguson, Tom Snyder, who all became legends in their own right. Yet he still managed to become a huge star and is remembered as one of the most famous late-night talk show hosts of all time. But he really had to find a way to compete with David Letterman. The feud between Leno and Letterman became the basis of the book and film The Late Shift. The first time Jay managed to overtake Dave was in 1996 when he interviewed actor Hugh Grant, who had recently been embroiled in a controversy involving a sex worker. This controversial episode became a huge hit and saw The Tonight Show rise in the rankings ahead of The Late Show. After that, Jay Leno was the king of late night. Whenever his competitors succeeded, he always rose above them. Jay left the show in 2009, but then returned in 2010 when there was a time slot change. He hosted until 2014 when he finally stepped aside and Jimmy Fallon became the new host. This video is sponsored by ZBiotics. ZBiotics is a probiotic drink that helps you feel better the day after drinking. Many people think dehydration is responsible for that morning after feeling, but it's actually due to an alcohol byproduct that builds up in the gut. ZBiotics produces an enzyme specifically to break down this byproduct and reduce the after effects of alcoholic beverages. This is real science that works, not random vitamins and plant extracts like everything else. And ZBiotics is so easy to use. Just drink a bottle of ZBiotics before your first drink of alcohol. You only need one bottle. Then drink responsibly, pace yourself, and get a good night's sleep. Thanks to ZBiotics, you can enjoy your next day feeling refreshed and ready to make the most of it. Every time I have ZBiotics before drinking, I am amazed at how good I feel the next day. With the holiday season upon us, consider gifting ZBiotics to give the gift of a better next morning. It's unique, thoughtful, and under $40. If you use the code FACTSFIRST at checkout, you can get an extra 15% off your first order. Click the link in the description or go to zbiotics.com/factsfirst and get 15% off. Jay Leno cancels all his appearances as he's treated for car injuries. Jay Leno continues to write, act, and make cameo appearances in films and TV shows. But his biggest claim to fame since the end of The Tonight Show has been Jay Leno's garage. Jay has always loved cars, and with this show, that's been running since 2014, he's had a chance to show off his personal car collection, as well as discuss cars and driving. He would give his reviews on a variety of cars, ranging from American muscle cars to classic European cars to the McLaren F1. Jay owns an impressive collection of cars at his garage in Los Angeles. He's often discussed his collection in public interviews and even on shows. One of his earliest interviews with Rowan Atkinson had the two gentlemen discuss their love of cars. In fact, Jay has arguably the most impressive car collection among Hollywood stars, perhaps Jerry Seinfeld being the only serious competitor. But these cars also come with their price, literally and metaphorically. A huge collection of cars has to be maintained, and if you're not careful, things can go wrong. We don't know the full details, but we do know that on Sunday, November 13th, 2022, a fire broke out in Jay Leno's garage in Los Angeles. One of his cars caught fire, and Jay has received some rather serious facial burns. He's currently being treated at the Grossman Burn Center, and his family has confirmed his burns are serious, but that he's doing well. He issued one public statement stating that he needs 1 or 2 weeks to get back on his feet before he starts making public appearances again. We wish him a speedy recovery. Jay's car collection. One of Jay's most interesting cars is an antique 1906 Stanley Steamer Vanderbilt Racer. This car is a vintage-powered steam car and isn't one that he would drive all the time, as it's certainly not practical to run a car on steam today. But he does take it out on occasion, and it's certainly a sight to see. While many celebrities today like to show off Lamborghinis, Jay Leno has one of the early models, a 1986 Lamborghini Countach. It's estimated to be valued at $215,000, and it's one of the cars he uses most often. He also loves his classic American cars, and one of the best cars in his collection is the 1963 Chrysler Turbine car. Only 55 of these cars were made, and most were destroyed. Jay is one of the few people who own the Chrysler Turbine car, with only 9 remaining in existence. This car is unique as it can run on almost any flammable oil, but alas, it didn't go anywhere. Of course, Jay Leno also likes many modern cars. One of the highlights of his car collection is the 2005 Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren. This is a great car for fast racing and is valued at almost $500,000. This is what Jay likes to take out when he wants to cruise around the countryside without having to worry about being stuck in LA's awful traffic. Another beautiful classic car of his is the 1939 Lagonda V12. This is a luxury classic British car and is fitting for an iconic gentleman such as Jay Leno. The estimated value is $2.56 million. There was also the 2006 EcoJet. This car was one that Jay Leno designed himself while consulting with General Motors. The car was so fast that once when he was driving, the window blew out as he sped. This is arguably the most interesting car in his collection, and one wonders if back in the 70s, Jay Leno dreamt of owning such a car while he was performing stand-up on The Tonight Show for the first time. Once again, we wish Jay Leno a speedy recovery, and we hope to see more of his car collection on Jay Leno's Garage in the near future. So now let's hear from you. Are you a fan of Jay Leno? Do you remember hearing the news about his car fire injuries? Do you think newer celebrities are as interested in owning cars as older ones? Let us know in the comments section below.